We hear all the time about how powerful AI is getting. It can do these incredible things. But have you ever stopped to wonder how it's actually making its decisions? So many of these advanced models work like a black box. We get an answer, but we have absolutely no idea how the AI got there. So today, we're going to dive in. Because figuring out the why behind a prediction, well, that's not just a tech puzzle. It's one of the biggest challenges we face in building real trust in the AI that's reshaping our world. Why should I trust you? This one simple, powerful question, it's really at the heart of everything we're talking about today. It comes from a landmark 2016 research paper, and it's the question we absolutely have to ask our most complex algorithms. It's also the question that sparked the creation of a really clever technique called LIME. So what exactly is this black box problem? Well, think about it. As our AI models, like these giant neural networks, get more and more accurate, they also become unbelievably complex. I mean, their internal logic gets so tangled up that even the people who built them can't really trace the exact path from A to B. And that creates what we call a transparency deficit. And look, this isn't just some abstract academic problem. The stakes are incredibly high. I mean, when an AI is helping a doctor diagnose a disease, or a bank decide if you get a loan, or a car navigate a busy street, because the model said so just isn't going to cut it. It's not good enough. We have to be able to trust its reasoning, not just its final answer. And this is where LIME comes into the picture. The name is an acronym. It stands for Local Interpretable Model Agnostic Explanations. And honestly, the whole big idea is packed right into that name. It's local, which means it doesn't try to explain the whole model, just one single projection. And it's model agnostic, which is huge. It means it doesn't matter what kind of crazy complex model you're dealing with. LIME can help you peek inside. Okay, to really get this, let's build some intuition with an analogy. Imagine a super complex AI model's entire logic is like a massive, rugged mountain range. Trying to describe that whole landscape with one simple rule? Impossible, right? There are peaks, valleys, it's just too complicated. But what if you just look at the tiny patch of ground you're standing on right now? That little spot is probably pretty simple, maybe even almost flat. LIME works on this exact same idea. So here's the absolute key takeaway. LIME doesn't even try to explain the entire complicated model all at once. That's a fool's errand. Instead, it asks a much smarter, simpler question. For this one specific decision, what was the reasoning right around here? By zooming way in, it can create a simple, understandable explanation that's actually true for the model in that tiny local area. So how does it actually do it? It's this really clever 5-step dance. First, you pick the one prediction you're curious about. Second, LIME starts messing with the data just a little bit. It creates thousands of slightly different versions of your original data point. You can picture it like a little cloud of similar samples. Third, it takes all those new samples and asks the big, complex model, hey, what would you predict for these? Fourth, it weighs them. The samples that are most similar to your original get the most weight. And finally, this is the magic trick, it trains a super simple, easy-to-understand model on that little weighted cloud of data. And that simple model becomes your explanation. And this visual, it just perfectly captures the whole idea. That crazy squiggly line in the background, that's the true, complex decision boundary of our black box. The big red cross is the single prediction we want to understand. All those other dots are the new samples LIME created. And see how the ones closer to the cross are bigger? That's the weighting. And that dashed line? That's it. That's the simple explanation LIME learned. It's not right for the whole model, but right there, around our prediction, it's a fantastic and simple approximation of what's going on. Okay, deep breath, here comes the math. But I promise you do not need a PhD for this. We're not going to get lost in the symbols. All we need to do is understand the two core ideas this formula is trying to balance. It's actually a really elegant way to describe a trade-off. Let's just break this down. The formula is basically a tug-of-war between two goals. That first part, the L, is all about local fidelity. It's trying to make sure our simple explanation is as true as possible to what the complicated model is doing, but only in that small neighborhood. The second part, that omega, is a penalty for being too complex. It pushes the explanation to be as simple as it can possibly be. So LIME is constantly trying to find that perfect sweet spot, an explanation that's both accurate locally and simple enough for a person like you or me to actually understand and trust. All right, enough theory. Let's see how this plays out in the real world with a pretty famous case study. So some researchers trained a cutting-edge classifier to tell the difference between a wolf and a husky. And on their test data, it got an impressive 90% accuracy. I mean, 90%. You'd probably be pretty happy with that, right? You'd think, great, the model learned the task, let's deploy it. But is high accuracy really the same thing as being trustworthy? As it turns out, Lime was about to uncover a pretty shocking secret hiding inside that model. When the researchers pointed Lime at the model's predictions, they found something mind-blowing. The model wasn't looking at the animal's snout or its eyes or its fur at all. It had found a lazy shortcut. It hadn't learned to be a wolf detector. It had accidentally become a snow detector. So what the heck happened here? Well, the model found what's called a spurious correlation. Basically, in the training data they gave it, almost every single picture of a wolf just happened to have snow in the background. So the model learned a really simple but totally wrong rule. If I see snow, it must be a wolf. Lime showed everyone that the model was getting the right answer, but for completely the wrong reason. And that's why this is so critical. It's not just about accuracy, it's a debugging tool for a model's logic. But Lime is not a silver bullet. It was a foundational idea, but it has its own set of challenges. And one of the biggest ones people talk about is the problem of instability. This chart here gives you a really clear picture of what we mean by that. See that line going down? It basically shows that as the data gets more complex, that's moving left to right on the chart, the stability of the explanation can actually go down. So depending on some technical settings, the explanation can become less reliable. So what this means in the real world is that you and I could both use Lime on the very same prediction from the very same model. But if I tweaked one of the internal settings just a tiny bit, I might get a totally different explanation than you did. And that, you can imagine, raises some really important questions about how reliable these explanations are in super high-stakes situations. But the good news is the story doesn't end there. The field is always moving forward. Lime was this revolutionary starting point, and now we're seeing new methods like G-Lime, General Lime, being developed. They take the core genius of Lime and build on it, specifically trying to solve problems like that instability to create even better, more trustworthy explanations. So what's the bottom line? What is Lime's real, enduring legacy? Well, for one, it gave us a kind of universal translator for any black box model. It took this impossible problem of explaining a whole model and made it manageable by focusing on just one tiny piece at a time. It gives us explanations that are intuitive, built for humans. And maybe most importantly, like we saw with the wolf and husky story, it's a vital tool for debugging a model's reasoning, proving that being right for the wrong reason is a disaster waiting to happen. And all of this leaves us with one final and really crucial question. Tools like Lime are an amazing first step, but as AI gets woven deeper and deeper into our lives, making decisions about our health, our money, our safety, the challenge is only going to get bigger. How are we going to build a future where we can be absolutely confident that every single one of those decisions isn't just accurate, but is also fair, transparent, and ultimately something we can truly trust?